Hey guys, this is Rurouni K95 here, and it is time for a manga review video once again, because last time, even though I've been taking a look back on my Fushigi Yugi The Mysterious Play Volume 1 manga review in the past about a week ago, well, this is the first time I wanted to do something more new. I wanted to do, like a whole type of way, something I wanted to start with to begin. Even though I will get to continuing on doing more manga reviews, especially the ones that's from start to finish type ones, like a lot of the volume ones, especially of the original type manga ones. But the ones I want to review, I wanted to review like a 2-volume manga that I wanted to review for the first time, especially here. Something I wanted to do before, which is basically something I should have done for the first time, though. Basically, this manga, I wanted to do a manga review for the first time. Well, why not? Because I haven't thought of something which I forgot that I should have done after reading those manga books. You know, especially the ones that I ordered from Right Stuff Online in the past, last year, though. Today's manga review, we're going to be doing a manga review on the first volume of Rurouni Kenshin Restoration. Yes, this is basically like a tie-in to the Rurouni Kenshin live-action movie that came out in 2012 in Japan, I think, though. Yeah, because this is based on, the story and art was done by Nobuhiro Watsuki, especially, who is the creator of the original Rurouni Kenshin manga as well. Although I have read a lot of the Rurouni Kenshin manga volumes, as well as watching the anime series. I have all 3 seasons of them on DVD in my anime collection. Well, because I wanted to do like a manga review like this for the first time. Because, you know, the setting, how it takes place in Bakumatsu time period in Japan, because, you know, it was just during the Civil War, especially of how these foreigners of how the Japanese wanted to do it. There is the Civil War going on in Japan in the Bakumatsu time period. And the swordsman, who goes by the name Hitokiri Batosai, the manslayer himself, kills the people with his sword of what he has a lot to do with. Because when that wasn't long until he gives up on being a manslayer, so he ends up becoming a wanderer, so he has to keep his reverse blade sword, especially if what you know the story of the Rurouni Kenshin, how it goes. Especially, so now without any further ado, which is right here, right now, let's dive into how seems how it goes, and it's a lot more different, and a lot of changes, though, especially, well, we all know the story, which we mentioned before, which I have forgot to add, you know, the story of how Hitokiri Batosai kills every men who are part of those ruthless vagabonds who are trying to fight the Batosai, but they wouldn't stand a chance. So Batosai just kills all of these people who are almost trying to attack him, but that's how it was until he gives up on being a manslayer, and he wants to be a wanderer, so he keeps his reverse blade sword, because he has a cross-shaped scar on his cheek. So he changes the name to Rurouni Kenshin as well, which is how this takes place in the Bakumatsu era, especially of how that the Meiji Restoration began. There was something going on about how it heals the wounds of the Civil War, of how so Batosai has changed his name to now Rurouni Kenshin, who is a wanderer who's only vowed to only draw his sword to protect those in need, especially from evil, especially of how until he met this girl named Kaoru Kamiya, who is the assistant master of the Kashin Ryu dojo as well. In this of how the original story goes. Yeah, come to think of it, which we all know, this is basically a lot more different as opposed to the original manga as well, which I was going to show you the pages on there, in case you're wondering like this. Yeah, because I had to go in depth as well. Also, this makes any differences is that how it's different as opposed to the events of the Rurouni Kenshin TV series or the Trust and Betrayal, but I think that's only later on with the OVAs, if you ever seen. So that Hajime Saito appears in the story of how what you see in Restoration. Yeah, because I think that's only how this was included in this prologue type of way. But that's how Kenshin wandering how it goes until Yahiko has found him, that he's been looking for him all along, especially what you see in the story, which is a lot different than the original manga. Come to think, but this is like almost a retelling version of the original manga as how it's intended. Yeah. And that's how you would expect, but in this different part of the story is how it seems. Come to think of it, this is a lot very good though, and it's well done. And here is how he must basically how he learns the training with the sword, with how to use the sword between of how Kaoru had a lot to do in this part until it accidentally hits him right, like almost unconsciously in an accident way. But the match was over. Yeah. There's a lot of jealousy going on in this story, which it seems a lot different between the challenge between Kaoru and Kenshin as well, with the sword challenging, but she accidentally hit on the head. And she apologizes for this part, and that upsets those showgoers because they want the money back. Yeah, because they got all pissy as well, because she was the winner, especially as she's a former high-ranking samurai family of how this basically goes. Until the great merchant named Takeda Kanryu appeared in this part of the manga on Rurouni Kenshin Restoration. Yeah, this story is basically how it's different goes as well, which I appreciate because I really enjoyed this part because this is a lot meant to be for this as well, from what I understand. Also, this makes it a lot different than the original manga as it seems of how it goes, because that's particularly how it's a little revisiting of how the original manga has it seems. Yeah. Especially this merchant has this machine gun weapon though, especially of how that he killed the Oniwaban group, which I think this might have been happened in the original manga as well as the anime TV series in particular, especially in this part. But then, because Kenshin Himura uses the Hita Mitsurugi Ryu, yeah, especially on that. From how this understanding goes as well. So that's how the journey goes. Particularly of how with the ex-assassin and the girl who is dedicated to the sword has met for the first time from the very beginning as well. Of how the story progressed, how it revisited. Yeah. Also, this makes any certain elements, including Hajime Saito as well as the other characters from the original manga, and how it's been revisited, as how it's a lot attempted. Because we all know the same story, though, because it's a lot very different, though, from how this things goes, as opposed to what Nobuhiro Watsuki had a lot to do for. There's how things is how it's attempt as how it's go, but I can figure the way is that there is the fair fight. There is also the fair fight between him and Sanosuke Sagara, especially in this chapter I found in Restoration. That's the cool, interesting facts of how. But this was until somebody who is on top of the building of who it is, especially this part of who is that person on that mysterious guy on that building, especially where, because if Kenshin Himura and Sanosuke Sagara could have figured out who was it, especially in this chapter on there, which it looks a lot of who has encountered upon. It might have been Janae as well from the very beginning, but that's how, in the third arc. I think this is basically you had the battle between the Batosai and Hajime Saito, who is the third unit captain of the Shinsengumi, as well. Yeah, because if you ever read the original manga, or if you have seen the anime, that's how it gives me a lot of revisiting as how it's intended. And I still stand by how. Because I loved the action, because how the Gatotsu, what I believe Hajime Saito has a lot to do when he is challenged in the battle between him and the Batosai in this part, of how the death match, how it's encountered, as what it seems of how they do this. And yeah, but that wasn't long until the Batosai vanishes, but then Hajime Saito was smoking a cigarette in this part. But then that's how it wasn't long until the conflict battle showed up. I think, if you ever, especially with these techniques like the Hitamitsurugi Ryoshosen, and which is the different sword technique of how the death match, how it conflicts. Yeah, and also same goes for the sword technique Hajime Saito has, which is the Akusoku-san, the swift death of evil, swift death to evil, as well, because Hajime Saito thinks the Batosai is the killer, and while Hajime Saito was the member of the Shinsengumi, where they share the sense of the justice, of how they're crossing the swords, but of how the justice is not just about the slaying, especially in this chapter, from what I noticed. Especially of how, if they could understand why, as well. How naive it was, especially the death battle between, of how the ultimate technique with the fastest Bato Ojutsu Tensho Ryusen, which is another technique from the Hitamitsurugi Ryu, what Kenshin has. And Hajime Saito's ultimate technique is the Gatotsu Zero Shiki. Yes, because I loved the conflict. It's very kick-ass, though. Very indeed, as having the source of the original manga or the anime, especially like if you ever take note, if you're watching season 2 of Rurouni Kenshin anime series, especially the Legends of Kyoto arc, which is basically I believe it's Hajime Saito, the arc where it deals with Hajime Saito as well as the Makoto Shishio arc, especially in season 2, because I think these were like a major plot points as well, which it has a lot to do for, as how it seems. But this chapter on there seems a lot more different as well, because it was a cigarette after the conflict was over between the sword duel between Kenshin and Hajime Saito as well, until he drops a cigarette in this part. Until Kenshin Himura notices the cigarette that Saito has been dropped as well. This arc is a lot very different as opposed to the original manga or the anime in general, because, again, every part's almost are different major plot points in particular as well. Also in this chapter of this, they thought it was a katana, but it's actually a reverse blade sword. Oh, well, it is a katana, but it's actually the reverse blade sword. Especially what they noticed of what sword he had in this part. Because I think this is a lot more different, though. Because I wasn't never known about this. Because this is like a major tie-in, though. Until somebody with who's mysterious appeared who was wearing a mask in town as well. As how he would have helped someone who was sick as well. Especially how take note on this chapter if you want to pause and if you ever read this part of the manga as well. Yeah, because I still stand by of how this goes as well. Yeah, until they fight those other blokes who are in Kenshin's way as well, especially with he has carrying his reverse blade sword, especially because with the Hitsumitsurugi, what has a lot to do, until he tells others to go into safety without getting hurt as well. But they had to take a run for it, as well as they go into other places of how fair cheaters will be straight taken to the police. What said in this chapter apart, if they know who is a wanderer who has the sword to protect the innocents, especially of how what he had a lot to do. And here's the sword challenging battle part as well. You notice on that in this chapter of the manga in Rurouni Kenshin Restoration. If they could know, they knew a samurai with a cross-shaped scar. What these these rival blokes wanted to know who this person was, especially because of how this person who's behind that mask is actually a woman. This other person, a woman, of how who is basically a doctor as well, which is a lot how it's been revealed of how the real identity of this person, the mask, what behind the mask was as well in this chapter of the manga. And accordingly, though, what he has a lot to do for of how he took care of this as well, especially with finding these other challenging blokes as well with these weapons as well. Because the intimidating eyes, they said it was the Batosai because of the way how it appears as well. And on top of this, the sword challenging, they say he was the manslayer, the Batosai himself, especially of how this other because he's been carrying that reverse blade sword as a samurai who should, as how it is intended, because they all know what the battle is intended. To this other person uses the Tempster Infernio, which is the Hell Tempest technique, which is the ultimate fast technique. When he uses the Hitsumitsurugi Ryutsui-sen as well. Ryutsui-sen, yeah, that. Especially in this chapter part. And on top of this, until with until this person was sliced into two, like itsy bitsy sushi pieces, especially the death match goes with the Sakamoto as well, of how this takes place in the Bakamotsu period, until this other person came and stopped those other troublemaking blokes of how the lot to do, until they said it was intense relief. Yeah, because this person who was the assassin and broker, and Ishizu Dayan have been arrested. They were all in jail in their respective countries. Yeah, because the person with that mask and that top hat on, in I believe Rurouni Kenshin Restoration, who is the doctor, goes by the name Dr. Elder, has patients waiting for her in America when during her recent visiting in Japan, as how during the Bakamotsu period, because the patients are waiting for her in America, which I never knew, because and how they wanted to know the doctor to come back soon from the Dayan as well, until she takes off the mask. It's basically a girl of how she appears when she takes her mask off as well. Yeah. And they all couldn't. It was the shocking truth of how she's been revealed, as how she thanks Kenshin for everyone to have a healthy life as well, because she notices a cross-shaped scar. What Kenshin has on his cheek, though, because that's how it was, especially when she thanks him for the concern, as well as how when her vice as a doctor, any scar or illness requires treatments, but it's also required for the rest, especially for the body and the mind as well. When she left to America on a ship as well, in Japan as well. And that's how, for the conclusion as well in this chapter, on how he walks off, how it's intended of how the turbulent time in Kyoto was basically of how known as Hitokiri Batosai, when he slayed many men when the carnage incarnate as well, with his blood-soaked sword, where he slashed open the Meiji era. Of those turbulent times, he disappeared, only his legend behind, is how the real story of the adventure begins 5 days later, which it takes place in the 11th year of the Meiji era in Tokyo, especially of how in this chapter goes. So that's my manga review on Rurouni Kenshin Restoration. The newer characters that are introduced, which is basically all included, unlike the original manga. I mean, what I think of the story? The story was great. Very original source material for this, but it's a little revisiting of how, if you ever read the original manga or if you watch the anime. But there's some newer characters that are being introduced in this chapter, in this volume of the manga. Because I know this is a 2-volume manga. The story was great. The characters, we all know that are from the original, we can all recognize from the original manga source material, but there are newer characters included on there. But overall, the enjoyment of this manga, I really loved it, because if you're a fan of Rurouni Kenshin, either if you watch the anime series or if you have ever read the original manga, this is the one that you want to check out, because I've wanted to explain of how I loved this manga a lot, because this means a lot to me, though, because it's a lot very true to the original source material. We all know there's the Hokkaido arc manga as well, because we all know that Rurouni Kenshin basically has those newer types of manga, though, even ever since the original manga was finished, though. But, however, on top of this, I really loved it. My score for this manga, a 10 out of 10. Just a 10 out of 10. Because I find this story an absolute masterpiece. Especially for Rurouni Kenshin Restoration, though. Because I loved this one as well. So that's going to be it for my manga review on Rurouni Kenshin Restoration for today's manga review video for today, you guys. Thank you for watching. But before we go, here's something to say for this one. When I first read the manga, Rurouni Kenshin Restoration Volume 1, I never knew that this is basically how it's almost a tie-in to the Rurouni Kenshin live-action movie that came out in Japan in 2012. At least I've heard good things about Rurouni Kenshin live-action movie ones, because at least you got the Japanese cast on the live-action Rurouni Kenshin on here, which is very true, though. Although the anime series will be my favorite, though, as well as the original manga. This is the first time I wanted to get in depth of how I'm revisiting the original manga, as well as when it comes to reading Rurouni Kenshin Restoration, because there's a lot of good things and very interesting things I found in this one, which is a lot very different, though, when it comes to reading the manga like Rurouni Kenshin Restoration. And the biggest thing is that if you want to read something you want to remember, this is the one you want to start with. That'll definitely take the cake, though. Especially for a manga series, a 2-volume manga like Rurouni Kenshin. Now, if this was Rurouni Kenshin light novel, Voyage to the Moon World, then I would have been compelled of how they did that light novel to have it on something you want to enjoy, have the enjoyment in general, in particular. As opposed if it was the original Rurouni Kenshin manga, which only lasted like 28 volumes, then I would have been covered up, basically, of how it has a lot for the difference of how it has got to me, though. But I had to revisit it with Rurouni Kenshin Restoration for the first time, because this is basically like almost like a tie-in to, basically, of how the movie from 2012, which is released by Warner Brothers Japan in 2012, which I've heard good things about it, though, as well. I mean, can you imagine if they wanted to do another OVA series on Rurouni Kenshin, which is adapted from the Rurouni Kenshin Restoration? We'll see about that, basically, because that would be in the works, though, as well. Hope to subscribe for content, my Anime Planet, link in the description below. You share this video on your Twitter, Facebook, if you have Twitter and Facebook account, and all social media. Smack the like button if you enjoy this video. Feel free to leave in the comments in the comment section below on this video if you like as well. Let me know, because I will answer them as well, because I've been doing a lot of thinking, that's why. Where I have my usual thinking whenever I wanted to do a manga review, where I had to explain about the manga, like Rurouni Kenshin Restoration, that's why. Especially the first volume, though. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, Rurouni K95. Feel free to join my channel, especially if you're new to my channel as a newcomer. Smack the notifications bell button. Be sure to get notified also as well. And keep it otaku for this manga review, because I wanted to review something very new that I haven't done before until now. Especially the ones that take the cake. Even though I have been doing my previous manga review videos in the past, because I wanted to do something, especially the ones that I wanted to pick from my manga collection, just to give you all the thing, though, especially when it comes to doing a review on a brand new manga, like something that has like 2 volumes, like especially this one as well, and that is Rurouni Kenshin Restoration Volume 1, because I think I got this on Right Stuff, because I thought this was pretty good, though, because I wanted to do a review on that manga, that's why. Because I was like, well, why not? Because I wanted to do a manga review, because it's been a while since I have read this manga back in 2020, ever since I ordered this off of Right Stuff, that's why. This is Rurouni K95 saying thank you for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Hope you have a great day, because I know today's Friday. This is Rurouni K95 saying thank you for watching this video, and I hope you like this video. Hope you enjoy it. See you soon for the next video. Okay, this is Rurouni K95 signing off. Thank you for watching my video, and I will see you soon for more videos.